Hello everyone, Bard here. Now don't bother changing your monitor, phone, or anything, because this month is Matrix Month. All throughout the month of March, I'll be going over all of the Matrix films, including the Animatrix. And what better way to begin this month than to look at the film that started it all, The Matrix. A man named Thomas Anderson lives a double life as an employee for a software company and a computer hacker by the name of Neo. But when a man named Agent Smith is hunting him down, Neo, who I'll call him from now on, is brought to the attention of a woman named Trinity and a man named Morpheus, who was told that Neo is the one. Get it? And he brings them from what's known as the Matrix, which is a world of a fictional reality done on a computer, and into the real world where machines rule and all of humanity cease to exist, and the survivors live underground in their own ships. And while living with Morpheus and Trinity, Neo is shown to the other people on the ship called the Nebuchadnezzar, and Morpheus explains and shows the world of the Matrix to Neo, while also bringing him to meet the Oracle to show that he's the one, and also avoiding several obstacles in both the Matrix and the real world. When I first saw this film, I really enjoyed it for its effects, action, and philosophy. But nowadays it's nothing much. But it's still fine. And the majority of it is based on the effects. Now at the time they are impressive to watch, yet these days they are mostly of the time, and even so, some effects like the mirror and spoon have roughly the same textures and are becoming more like the T-1000 from Terminator 2, which came out a few years earlier. Even the effect known as bullet time can be so easily done nowadays, but back then they made it a little more complex since computer effects were continuing to be developed. So all of the CGI was still getting out of its development stages. Though not every effect was this way, a couple of them do stand out, like some explosions, things zooming into the foreground, and ones that look like stop-motion effects. So overall, the effects are just okay, but more of a product of the time. But if the effects don't hold up very much, at least everything else is decent. Like the action scenes, incorporating Japanese martial arts with slow motion, commando-style gunfiring, also in slow motion, and even using various effects to make the action more grand. But even the most simple of them are the most effective for a special effects-filled movie such as this. Still, the action is good to witness. The philosophy behind The Matrix is an interesting take, not only explaining what it is, how it's made, or why it exists, but also inserting ways of how the mind and body experiences it, with lots of speeches about what's real and what's not, and what one believes in, which back then makes the film complex and even intriguing. Yet nowadays we can already gather what the Matrix is when watching it again, even though there's a ton of explaining in this. Still, I have to give it credit for introducing the idea of explaining the science of it all, while going a little overboard. Even certain ideas within the Matrix is interesting, like how the Oracle is portrayed as a grandmotherly figure, and agents are like computer viruses portrayed as people of the Matrix, or were people trapped in the Matrix. Or maybe I'm thinking too hard about it. I also like how some of the kids in the Matrix have special powers like levitating blocks and bending spoons, though I don't know why Nia the Lepus is playing on the TV. Maybe it's just to make the place seem surreal, which is what the Matrix is full of. But there is one question I do have that I don't think anyone thought about. What happens when you take both the blue pill and the red pill? Do you become erased from existence? Do you become some sort of entity? Or do you shift the balance of fiction and reality? It's a question I'm often curious about. As for the actors playing their characters, they've done a good job. Keanu Reeves plays Thomas Anderson / Neo. Lawrence Fishburne plays Morpheus. Carrie-Anne Moss plays Trinity. Hugo Weaving plays Agent Smith. And Joe Pantoliano plays Cypher. As a whole, this movie is all fine for what it is. The characters are good, the story is fine, and the effects are okay. The Wachowskis had done a fine job of presenting a place like our world but is not, and bringing in philosophy of what we know and not, and of blending reality with fiction. Yet most of the effects are of the time, and are easily done today. Not to mention they are a little dated. Still, a couple of them are unique, and the action is fine as well. I used to really enjoy the film when I first saw it, but nowadays it's sort of wore off due to how far we went with technology and effects. Yet overall, it's nothing special, but it's still fine. So today, this movie will get a rating of 3 stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and tune in next week for more Matrix Month. And now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to find out what happens when you take both a blue pill and a red pill together. You know, I thought there would be more of an effect to this.